Coco Gauff shares her honest opinion on Venus Williams receiving an Australian Open wildcard. Venus Williams is set to make her first appearance at the Australian Open in 5 years after receiving the final wildcard for the event. At 45, the American legend will become the oldest women's player in the Open era to play at Melbourne Park, where she has made the final twice. Williams has not competed outside the US since 2023, having featured sporadically at tour-level competitions over the last few years. In 2025, the 7-time major champion made her return to action during the North American hardcourt swing and picked up her first singles win in 16 months over Peyton Stearns. Now, Williams will head to Australia to take part in the first Grand Slam of the year, which her compatriot, Coco Gauff, commented on. Coco Gauff discusses Venus Williams' Australian Open wildcard. Ahead of her campaign at this year's United Cup, Gauff said of Williams' return, "Yeah, she's a legend of the sport, so it will be cool to see her back in action. It's incredible for the longevity of her career that she has. Yeah, she's a legend, one of the people I looked up to, so looking forward to seeing her back on court." Gauff has played Williams twice before on the WTA Tour, and the two meetings came in the first round of Grand Slams. They clashed at Wimbledon in 2019 and the Australian Open in 2020, with Gauff emerging victorious in both bouts. "It will be funny if I drew her the first round of the 2026 Australian Open again," said Gauff. "Because that would be, like, 3 times. Yeah, I mean we'll save that if it happens." Venus Williams' best results at the Australian Open over the years. The Australian Open title is one of 2 Grand Slam trophies that Williams has never managed to get her hands on, along with the French Open. She first appeared at the tournament in 1998, and 5 years later she reached the final in Melbourne for the first time. Williams fell in the 2003 title bout to her sister, Serena Williams, who achieved the career Grand Slam with her triumph that year. Venus did not make the final again until 2017, when she lost to Serena once more, losing this time in straight sets. Her last campaign at the Australian Open came in 2021, but it ended in the second round. Echoes of glory and the passing of torches. Coco Gauff on Venus Williams' wildcard return. On a radiant morning in early January, as Australia prepared for yet another thrilling summer of tennis, a wave of excitement swept through the tennis world. Venus Williams, at 45 years young, had been awarded a wild card into the 2026 Australian Open singles draw. This news wasn't just another tournament headline, it was a bridge between eras, a tribute to endurance, and a spark that stirred heartfelt reactions across the tour. Among those voices was Coco Gauff, one of the brightest stars on the WTA Tour, now a leader of the next generation. 42. When asked for her thoughts, Gauff didn't offer a stock soundbite. Instead, her words revealed something deeper. A mixture of respect, history, admiration, and a nuanced understanding of the game's evolving tapestry. "It's incredible for the longevity of her career," Gauff said. "She's a legend of the sport, so it will be cool to see her back in action." Women's Tennis Association. At first glance, it was a gracious, respectful comment, but when unpacked, it reflects complex intersections of past and present, legacy and ambition, respect and competition. Venus's wildcard, history meets the present. To appreciate the full impact of Gauff's reaction, we must first understand what Venus Williams' wildcard represents. Once a dominant force, 7-time Grand Slam singles champion, multiple finals at Melbourne Park, and a towering figure in women's tennis for nearly 3 decades, Venus may no longer be a perennial title contender, but her presence still resonates with significance. Australian Open. At 45, she becomes the oldest woman to compete in the main draw of the Australian Open, a record in itself. For many, that alone is worth celebration. It signifies courage, passion, and the inherent human desire to keep pushing limits even as time advances. She's not merely entering the draw, she's defying conventional expectations about age, athleticism, and relevance. Yet, this wildcard also prompts questions that swirl around most wildcard decisions. Should a slot be given based on past greatness, or should it reward current merit? Where do we draw the line between honoring legacy and fostering new talent? These are questions that don't have single answers, and they're part of what makes Gauff's reaction so compelling. 2. Coco's perspective, a generation in dialogue. Coco Gauff, now a two-time Grand Slam champion and one of the most influential players on tour, occupies a unique space in this dialogue. She stands far from the era Venus dominated, yet close enough to appreciate her influence. When Gauff speaks about Venus being a legend, it's not a generic compliment, it's a genuine acknowledgement of a player whose career helped shape her own journey. A legend isn't merely a champion, she's someone whose presence influences others' understanding of themselves. Gauff's words reflect an awareness that tennis is in dialogue with its past. Women's Tennis Association. Importantly, Gauff also said she looks forward to seeing her back on court. This hits at one of her deepest respects. Venus continues to compete, not merely appear. She hasn't retired and staged ceremonial appearances. She's training, playing, and stepping into competitive moments. That matters to Gauff, because this is the same tour where Gauff herself battles week in, week out. The respect here isn't about nostalgia, it's about recognizing a peer's decision to still stand in the arena. In essence, Gauff's reaction is both respectful and measured, acknowledging a legend's return while staying rooted in the present reality of competition. 3. The art of transition, legacy, respect, and the young lioness. Tennis is a sport defined by cyclical churn. Champions rise, define an era, pass the torch, and sometimes intersect with those who follow. Coco Gauff and Venus Williams share this rare intersection. Years ago, Gauff's meteoric breakthrough at Wimbledon, where she defeated an older, iconic Venus, made global headlines. That match was many sports fans' first moment seeing Gauff as not just a rising star, but a presence with historical significance. It was the younger generation's arrival, and Venus, so many years her senior, represented the bridge to everything that came before. Now, as Venus prepares to play yet another Grand Slam, Gauff's comments echo that moment of transition. It's a full-circle movement, where the young player once inspired by the older one now speaks with admiration about her return. It also says something about how Gauff views the sport, not as a battlefield of grudges or generational tension, but as a continuum of mutual respect. This framing is crucial. It marks a shift from viewing each match as mere competition, to seeing tennis as a living story, where every generation's triumph becomes another chapter in the ongoing narrative.